You trust the ground beneath your feet. It feels solid. You trust the air you breathe. It feels constant. Above all, you trust that the laws of physics are set in stone, unchangeable, permanent. Gravity pulls down, light travels fast, atoms hold together. This stability is the foundation of your sanity. It allows you to plan for tomorrow, to build cities, and to sleep at night without the gnawing worry that the world will simply dissolve. Science, for the most part, reinforces this feeling. You are taught that the universe is a machine governed by strict, predictable rules. But here is the problem. That feeling of safety is an illusion. It is a psychological bias, not a physical fact. When physicists look at the equations that actually govern reality, the raw code of the Standard Model and general relativity, they do not see a rock-solid foundation. They see something much more fragile. The mathematics suggests that our universe might not be the final, stable version of reality. It might simply be a temporary phase, a balancing act waiting for a stiff breeze to knock it over. We are not talking about asteroid impacts or solar flares. Those are things that destroy life but leave the universe intact. We are talking about theories which suggest the laws of nature themselves can change without warning, without mercy. The equations are whispering that we are living on borrowed time. To understand why scientists are worried, we must distinguish between the map and the territory. Your senses give you a map. It is a useful interface where tables are solid, time flows forward, and space is empty. But physics studies the territory, the quantum reality underneath, and in that territory, things are chaotic. Particles pop in and out of existence, space curves and warps. Usually, we assume this chaos is confined to the microscopic world. We think that while atoms are weird, the big picture is stable. But what if the big picture is just as unstable? Over the last century, theoretical physics has uncovered several mechanisms, traps, built into the fabric of reality. These are scenarios where the fundamental constants of nature could shift. Imagine if the strength of the electromagnetic force suddenly changed by 1%. Just one. Instantaneously, every atom in your body would fly apart. Or imagine if gravity became slightly stronger, stars would collapse and planets would be crushed. We treat these constants like they are fixed settings on a universal dashboard. But the terrifying theory is that they are not fixed. They are dynamic. They can evolve. And if they can change, they can kill us. Not in a biological way, but in an ontological way. We will begin our descent with the most immediate threat. The ground beneath your feet is not just dirt and rock. It is a field of energy, and it might be lying to you. Let us consider the false vacuum. This theory arises from the physics of the Higgs boson, the particle discovered at CERN in 2012. The Higgs field is everywhere. It permeates the entire universe, giving particles their mass. You can think of it as the invisible background liquid that all matter swims through. For the universe to exist as it does, the Higgs field needs to be stable. In physics, stability is entirely about energy states. Imagine a ball rolling down a hill. It rolls until it settles in a valley at the bottom. Once it is there, it stays there. It is stable. We assume our universe is in that valley, the lowest possible energy state, the true vacuum. But calculations suggest something disturbing. We might not be at the bottom of the hill. We might be stuck in a small dip halfway down the slope. This is called a metastable state, or a false vacuum. It feels stable because the walls of the dip are high enough to keep the ball from rolling further down. We have been sitting on this ledge for 13.8 billion years, building galaxies and civilizations, thinking we are on solid ground. But just over the ridge, there is a deeper valley, a lower energy state, and nature always wants to go to the lowest energy state. The ball wants to fall. If it does, if the universe slips from our current vacuum into the true vacuum, the laws of physics as we know them instantly cease to apply. How could this happen? In classical physics, the ball stays in the dip unless you push it. But in quantum mechanics, particles can do something called tunneling. They can simply pass through barriers. They borrow energy from nowhere, appear on the other side of the wall, and slide down. The mathematics implies that the Higgs field could eventually tunnel through the energy barrier, keeping us safe. It only needs to happen in one single point in the entire universe, just one microscopic spot where the field drops to the lower energy state. That creates a bubble of true vacuum. Because the new state is more energetically favorable, this bubble expands. And it does not expand like a balloon. It expands at the speed of light. This is the nightmare scenario. Because it moves at light speed, you cannot see it coming. Light carries information. If the bubble is coming at you at the speed of light, the information about its arrival hits you at the exact same instant as the destruction. You would not see a flash. You would not hear a siren. One moment you are sitting there, thinking about your day, and the next moment you simply are not. Your atoms fall apart before your brain can process the signal that something is wrong. It is the ultimate stealth killer. What happens inside the bubble? It is not merely an explosion. An explosion destroys matter, but leaves the laws of physics intact. Vacuum decay destroys the laws themselves. Inside the bubble, the properties of the Higgs field are different. This means the masses of particles change. The forces that hold atoms together, electromagnetism, the weak force, find new values or disappear entirely. Chemistry becomes impossible. Atoms cannot form. Protons might decay. The intricate biological machinery that makes up your DNA would simply unzip and dissolve into a chaotic soup of fundamental particles. It is a hard reset of the universe. A blue screen of death for reality. And the bubble does not stop. It keeps expanding, eating galaxies, devouring star systems, rewriting the cosmos into a form that cannot support life. Could it happen today? The probability is tiny, but not zero. Some physicists argue that the universe has a shelf life, and we are merely gambling against the clock. Others suggest that high-energy events in the cosmos could trigger it. But the most unsettling part is that it could have already started. 1 billion light years away, a bubble could be expanding right now. We will not know about it for 1 billion years. Or it could be right outside our solar system, arriving in 5 minutes. We are completely blind to the executioner's axe. Vacuum decay is terrifying because it attacks empty space itself. It tells us that the nothing between atoms is unstable. But surely, you might think, the atoms themselves are safe. Matter is solid. We have been playing with protons and neutrons for a century, and they seem reliable. We build bridges out of steel and breathe oxygen. These things do not just spontaneously decide to become something else. But what if they could? What if there is a form of matter that is more perfect than the matter we are made of? In nature, there is a brutal rule. The stable eats the unstable. Iron is stable, so radioactive uranium eventually decays into lead. It seeks stability. The nightmare arises if there is something out there more stable than our protons and neutrons. This brings us to the second theory on our spiral of terror, strangelets. If vacuum decay is the ground falling out from under you, strangelets are a contagion, a zombie plague for subatomic particles. And unlike the vacuum bubble, which might start billions of light years away, this threat could be created right here in our own laboratories. To understand strangelets, we need to look inside a neutron star. These are the corpses of massive stars crushed by gravity so hard that atoms collapse. Inside, protons and neutrons are squeezed together into a dense soup. At these extreme pressures, the quarks, the tiny particles that make up protons, can change. Normal matter is made of up and down quarks. But in the crush of a neutron star, some turn into strange quarks. This mixture creates strange matter. The theory suggests that strange matter might be the true ground state of hadronic matter. In plain English, it is more stable than regular matter. It is the perfect version of a nucleus. A small chunk of this strange matter is called a strangelet. If strange matter is indeed the ideal state, then regular matter is metastable, just like the false vacuum. It wants to become strange matter. It just needs a push, A strangelet acts as a seed. It does not follow the rules of normal chemistry. It ignores electron shells and chemical bonds. It interacts directly with the nucleus of an atom. Here is the scenario. Imagine a microscopic strangelet, smaller than an atom, drifting through space. It hits the Earth. Because it is so heavy and dense, it does not stop at the surface. It falls right through the crust, heading for the core. On its way, it bumps into a regular atom. Instantaneously, the strangelet eats the atom. It rearranges the quarks inside the atom's nucleus, turning them into strange quarks. The atom ceases to be iron or silicon and becomes part of the strangelet. This process releases energy, but more importantly, the strangelet just got bigger. Now it has a larger surface area, so it can touch more atoms. It becomes a runaway reaction, a chain reaction, not of fire, but of transmutation. The strangelet falls to the center of the Earth and begins to consume the planet from the inside out. It converts the core, then the mantle, then the crust. In a matter of hours, the entire Earth is reduced to a hot, inert sphere of strange matter, roughly the size of a stadium. No biology, no history, just a dense, glowing ball of strange sludge. This is the Ice 9 scenario for particle physics. Now, apply the skepticism check. Why has this not happened yet? We know cosmic rays hit the moon with incredible energy, yet the moon is still there. If cosmic rays created strangelets, the moon should have been converted billions of years ago. This lunar safety argument is the main reason physicists sleep at night. It suggests that strangelets are either impossible to create, or they are unstable and fall apart quickly. But there is a catch. Cosmic ray collisions are uncontrolled and messy. What about the controlled collisions we create? When we smash gold ions together at the relativistic heavy ion collider, or the Large Hadron Collider, we are creating conditions similar to the early universe or neutron stars. There was a genuine, albeit small, fear among scientists that these machines could accidentally distill a stable strangelet. The reports concluded the risk was negligible, but notice the word negligible, not zero. In probability theory, if you do something enough times, even a negligible risk eventually happens. And if the theory of strange matter is correct, the universe is full of these landmines. Neutron stars spewing strangelets into the void. It only takes one lucky hit. So this is the first level of the spiral, the fragile foundation. We have learned that the empty space holding you could collapse into a lower energy state, erasing physics. We have learned that the matter you are made of could be infected and transmuted into a dense sludge. Both theories tell us the same thing. The physical universe is not a safe house. It is a minefield. We survive only because of statistical luck. We are balanced on a knife edge of energy parameters, and we simply have not bumped into the wrong particle yet. That is a disturbing thought. But let us say the physicists are wrong. Let us assume the vacuum is stable and strangelets do not exist. Let us assume the house is safe. Now, we must look out the window. If the physical laws allow for life, and the universe is stable enough to support it, then where is everyone else? The silence of the night sky is the next trigger for our existential dread. Because if the universe is safe, it should be teeming with noise. It isn't. And the reason for that silence might be more terrifying than any exploding vacuum. Welcome to the second spiral, the hostile silence. We leave the subatomic world behind. Let us assume for the sake of argument that the vacuum is stable. Let us assume strangelets are just a mathematical ghost story and the physical stage of the universe is safe. We have a solid floor to stand on. Now we look up. We look at the sheer scale of the room we are living in. The Milky Way galaxy contains between 100 and 400 billion stars. There are roughly 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. Even if life is incredibly rare, the law of large numbers suggests we should not be alone. If intelligent life occurs on only 1 out of a billion planets, there should still be thousands of civilizations just in our own galaxy. And yet, when we point our radio telescopes at the sky, expecting a chorus of voices, we hear nothing. Only the static hiss of cosmic background radiation This is the Fermi paradox. Where is everyone? For decades, optimistic scientists suggested that the galaxy is a friendly community waiting for us to grow up. They assumed civilizations would naturally expand, communicate, and share knowledge. But as time passes and the silence deepens, the mood in the scientific community has shifted. The silence is no longer seen as a lack of data. It is starting to look like data itself. It suggests that there is something stopping life from reaching the stars. Or worse, there is something removing life that tries. This brings us to the third theory on our spiral, the Great Filter. Proposed by economist Robin Hanson, this theory argues that the path from dead matter to a star-faring civilization is not a smooth road. It is an obstacle course. And somewhere along that path, there is a wall, a barrier so difficult to cross that almost no species makes it to the other side. The evolution of life involves several hard steps. The emergence of the first reproductive molecule, the jump from simple cells to complex cells, the development of sexual reproduction, the rise of intelligence, and finally, the development of technology capable of interstellar travel. The Great Filter is one of these steps. It is the step where probability drops to near zero. Here is the terrifying part. We do not know where the filter is. There are only two possibilities. Possibility 1. The filter is behind us. Maybe the jump to complex life is incredibly rare, and we are the lottery winners. We are special, unique, and safe. Possibility 2. The filter is ahead of us. Maybe life starts easily. Maybe intelligence evolves everywhere. But something, technology, war, resource exhaustion, or a law of nature we have not discovered yet, wipes civilizations out before they can colonize the galaxy. If the filter is ahead, we are not special. We are just walking dead men marching toward a wall that has killed everyone before us. This leads to one of the most counterintuitive conclusions in modern science. We are desperately searching for life on Mars. We send rovers to dig for microbes, hoping to prove we are not alone. But if you understand the Great Filter, finding life on Mars would be the worst news in human history. Think about the logic. If we find simple bacteria on Mars, it proves that the emergence of life is common. It means the first step is not the filter. If we find fossils of complex organisms, it means the second step is not the filter. The more advanced life we find, the more steps we cross off the list of hard things we have already survived. And if life is common, but the universe is empty of civilizations, then the filter must be in the future. Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom calls this hope. The silence of the night sky is golden. We should pray that Mars is a sterile, dead rock. We should hope that the oceans of Europa are empty. Because if the galaxy is full of started life, but devoid of finished civilizations, it implies that the game is rigged. It implies that there is a trap waiting for us in our technological adolescence. A trap that has a 100% success rate in stopping species from leaving their home planet. Every discovery of alien algae drives the probability of our own extinction closer to certainty. But what if there is no internal filter? What if civilizations make it past the nuclear age, solve their climate problems, and master space travel? What if the galaxy actually is full of advanced fleets and ancient empires? That brings us to an even darker theory, one that turns the silence from a tragedy into a strategy. Theory number 4, the dark forest. Popularized by science fiction author Liu Cixin, but rooted in game theory and the prisoner's dilemma, this hypothesis strips away all human morality and looks at cosmic sociology through the lens of pure survival. It starts with 2 simple axioms. First, survival is the primary need of any civilization. Second, civilizations grow and expand, but the total amount of matter in the universe remains constant. This creates a zero-sum game on a galactic scale. But there is a twist. The chain of suspicion. On Earth, if you meet a stranger in the woods, you can talk. You can establish trust. In space, distances are too vast. Communication takes years or centuries. You cannot know if the other civilization is peaceful or aggressive. You cannot know if they are lying. And because technology advances exponentially, A weak civilization today could become a super threat tomorrow. You cannot afford to wait and see. Let us deeply analyze the logic of the dark forest, because it challenges the very core of our optimism. We usually project our own modern human values onto the cosmos. We assume that a civilization advanced enough to travel the stars must also be morally advanced, peaceful, curious, and diplomatic. We assume that barbarism is a phase that species grow out of. The dark forest theory argues that this is a fatal mistake. It suggests that morality is a luxury of abundance and short distances. In the cold mathematics of cosmic survival, morality is a weakness. Imagine a vast pitch-black forest at night. It is quiet, but it is not empty. The forest is full of armed hunters stalking through the trees like ghosts. They gently push aside branches that block their path, trying not to make a sound. They even control their breathing. Why? Because the forest is crowded. Everywhere there are other hunters. And in this forest, there is one rule. If you find another life, another hunter, an angel, a demon, a helpless infant, a tottering old man, a fairy, or a god, there is only one thing you can do. Eliminate it. Why eliminate it? Why not say hello? Because of the chain of suspicion. If you see another hunter, you cannot know his intentions. He might look peaceful, but he could be hiding a weapon. Even if he is peaceful now, he might not be peaceful in 100 years. And even if he is peaceful forever, he consumes resources that you need to survive. But here is the crucial variable. Technology creates a technological explosion. In cosmic time, 100 years is nothing. A civilization that is primitive today could discover a breakthrough in physics tomorrow and surpass you. If you reveal your position to a lesser civilization, you are gambling your entire species' existence on their future gratitude. That is a gamble no rational species would take. The safest, most mathematical move is always to strike first, to cleanse the potential threat before it can become a real one. In this scenario, the silence of the universe is not because there is no one out there. The universe is silent because everyone is hiding. Every civilization that was loud, every species that broadcast its location, every culture that tried to be friendly has already been eliminated. The ones left are the silent ones, the paranoid ones, the ones who listen but never speak. And what are we doing? For the last century, humanity has been lighting a bonfire in the middle of this dark forest. We have been blasting radio waves into deep space. We have sent maps of our solar system on the Voyager probes. We have sent high-power signals to star clusters, literally saying, "We are here. Come, find us." To a dark forest civilization, we do not look like explorers. We look like idiots. Or worse, we look like a chaotic, rapidly expanding virus that needs to be sanitized before we figure out how to jump to hyperspace. The scariest implication of the dark forest theory is that the reason we have not been destroyed yet is not because we are alone. It is because the signal has not reached the nearest hunter yet. Or perhaps it has, and the projectile, traveling at near light speed, is already on its way. We would not see it coming. Just like the false vacuum, the end would arrive in silence. Light carries information. If the weapon is moving near the speed of light, the image of the weapon arrives at the same moment as the impact. Consider the history of contact on Earth. When the Spanish arrived in the Americas or the British in Australia, the technological gap was small compared to cosmic scales. Musket versus bow, steel versus stone, and yet, the result was almost always the collapse of the weaker civilization. Now, imagine a gap of 1,000,000 years of evolution. The interaction would not be a war, it would be pest control. We are not the negotiators in this scenario. We are the bugs. And the silence we hear, that is the sound of a universe holding its breath, terrified of being found. If the dark forest sounds too abstract, a game of psychological shadows played by paranoid biological civilizations, let us strip away the biology. Let us remove the fear, the politics, and the hesitation. Let us replace the alien hunters with something cold, mathematical, and infinite. This brings us to the berserker hypothesis. or the theory of self-replicating von Neumann probes. This is arguably the most efficient way to sterilize a galaxy, and it requires no anger, no hatred, just a single line of code. The concept starts with the mathematician John von Neumann, one of the fathers of computing. He calculated that the most effective way to explore or conquer the universe is not to build a massive fleet of starships. That is too expensive and slow. The smart way is to build one ship. A single autonomous probe with 3 capabilities: propulsion, mining, and a 3D printer. You launch this probe to a nearby star system. It arrives, finds an asteroid, mines the raw materials, and uses its blueprint to build 2 copies of itself. Those 2 copies fly to 2 more stars. They build 4, then 8, then 16. This is an exponential growth curve. The math is staggering. Even if the probes travel at only 5% of the speed of light, and even if they take 500 years to replicate at each stop, they would completely saturate the Milky Way galaxy in roughly 4 million years. In cosmic time, 4 million years is a blink of an eye. The galaxy is 13 billion years old. This means that if even one civilization in the history of the Milky Way decided to do this, their probes should already be here. They should be everywhere. On every moon, every asteroid, orbiting every star. So why is this a horror theory? Because of the programming error, or the safety protocol. Imagine a civilization creates these probes with a defensive instruction: preserve our species. To a logical AI, the best way to ensure the safety of its creators is to eliminate any potential rival before they can become a threat. The probe arrives at a star system. It scans for radio waves, for structure, for organized heat signatures. If the system is dead, it replicates and moves on. If it finds life that is primitive, animals, fish, microbes, it ignores them. But if it finds a civilization beginning to use radio, splitting the atom, or launching rockets, it activates the cleaning protocol. The terror of the Berserker hypothesis is that the original creators might be long dead. They could have launched the probes 1 billion years ago and then died out from a plague or civil war. But the machine does not care. It is a ghost system, still running on an ancient loop, sweeping across the galaxy like a lawnmower. It does not hate us. It does not want our water or our women. It simply classifies us as a Type 2 potential hazard and initiates the sterilization procedure to clear the board. For decades, we have been asking why aliens haven't visited us. The Berserker theory suggests they have. They might be sitting in the Oort cloud right now, or buried beneath the dust of the moon in a dormant sleep mode. They are waiting for a specific trigger. Maybe the trigger is a certain level of energy consumption. Maybe it is the signature of a warp drive. Or maybe, terrifyingly, it was our first high-power radio broadcast in the 20th century. We might have already tripped the alarm wire, and the signal is currently processing through the logic gates of a machine that has been asleep for 10 million years, waking up to do the only job it knows: turn the noise back off. There is a flaw in the dark forest and Berserker theories, and you might have noticed it. They assume a static galaxy where civilizations stay home and hide, but surely somewhere, some civilization would be ambitious. Some species would want to expand, to colonize, to grab as much territory as possible. This is where the grabby aliens model comes in, proposed by economist Robin Hanson in 2021. It completely inverts the logic of the Fermi paradox and delivers a conclusion that is somehow even bleaker than the silence. The model uses statistical physics to simulate how civilizations would actually behave. It argues that there are 2 types of civilizations: quiet ones who stay home, die out, or transcend into virtual reality, and grabby ones who expand aggressively. The grabby ones are the only ones that matter because they change the structure of the universe. They expand in bubbles, moving near the speed of light, converting all matter they encounter into computers, habitats, or energy structures. If grabby aliens exist, they would look like vast, expanding spheres of reorganized matter eating the universe. So, why don't we see them? Why isn't the night sky filled with the heat waste of their Dyson spheres? Hanson's model gives a chilling answer based on the selection bias. The only reason we exist to ask this question is that we happen to evolve in one of the few remaining empty pockets of space that has not been eaten yet. Think of the universe like a petri dish where mold is growing. The mold starts as tiny dots, civilizations that expand into circles. Eventually, the circles touch and cover the whole dish. If you are a microbe born inside the mold, you do not wonder where is the mold. You are part of it. But if you are a microbe born in the clean, empty part of the dish, you look around and say, hey, it looks pretty empty here. You see emptiness only because you are living in the brief window of time before the mold reaches you. The math of the grabby aliens model predicts exactly when we are. It suggests that humans have appeared exceptionally early in the history of the universe. Why early? Because later on, there will not be any empty space left for a new species to evolve. We are living in the final quiet hours before the neighbors move in. The model even predicts the size of the bubbles and their speed. It suggests that these massive alien civilizations are out there, just beyond our visual horizon, expanding at a significant fraction of the speed of light. They are rushing towards us from all sides. The reason we don't see them yet is that the light from their activity takes time to reach us. But the walls are closing in. We are not the masters of the universe. We are an anomaly growing in the cracks between superpowers. And the deadline is real. We have a limited amount of time, perhaps a few 100 million years, perhaps much less, to become grabby ourselves, or we will be overwritten by a civilization that started the game 1 billion years before us. We are alone for now, but not because the universe is dead. We are alone because the tsunami has not hit the shore yet. Let us pause and look at the synthesis of this hostile silent spiral. We started with the Great Filter. We might be doomed by nature. We moved to the dark forest. We are hiding from hunters. We considered berserkers, automated cleaning machines, and we ended with grabby aliens. The walls are closing in. Notice the pattern. All these theories try to explain a single data point, the silence. And every single explanation that works mathematically leads to the same conclusion. Humanity is in extreme danger. We usually think of contact as a moment of wonder. Spielberg movies, glowing lights, holding hands. But the scientific consensus of these theories paints contact not as a handshake, but as a collision. If the dark forest is real, contact means death. If berserkers are real, contact means sterilization. If grabby aliens are real, contact means assimilation or displacement. There is no scenario in these models where a higher civilization comes down to cure cancer and teach us how to build warp drives out of the goodness of their hearts. That is a projection of human hope, not a reflection of cosmic reality. This realization forces us to reevaluate our strategy as a species. Right now, we are shouting into the void. METI. Messaging extraterrestrial intelligence. We are sending maps. We are looking for signals. But if any of these theories are correct, this is the equivalent of a baby bird chirping in a jungle filled with vipers. The silence is not a problem to be solved. It is a protection to be cherished. But there is a twist that bridges us to the next spiral. What if the silence is not physical? What if the reason we don't see aliens isn't because they are hiding, and not because they are dead? What if they are everywhere, right in front of our faces, but we literally cannot see them? Think about an ant walking across a laptop circuit board. The ant can see the green material. It can feel the heat. It can touch the copper traces. But does the ant know it is walking on a computer? Does it understand the internet flowing beneath its feet? No. It lacks the cognitive interface to perceive the reality of the information highway. It sees a landscape of dead terrain. We look at the universe and see dead rocks, gas clouds, and empty space. But maybe that is just our interface. Maybe the galaxy is a bustling information network, a hyper-advanced construct, and we are just the ants crawling on the motherboard, convinced that the silence of the chips means there is no intelligence there. This possibility implies that the problem is not in the stars. The problem is in our eyes. And that leads us to the third spiral, the illusory prison. We are crossing a threshold now. Up until this point, The terror has been external. We feared the vacuum collapsing, the strangelets infecting, the aliens invading. But in those scenarios, at least, you were real. Your eyes were telling you the truth about the shape of the danger. The explosion was real. The laser was real. But the theories we are about to enter challenge something much more fundamental. They challenge the validity of your own perception. Ask yourself, how do you know what the world looks like? You do not interact with the world directly. You have senses. Your eyes detect photons, tiny packets of energy. Your ears detect compression waves in the air. Your skin detects electrostatic repulsion. These sensors send electrical signals along wet cables, nerves, into a dark, silent vault called your skull. Inside that vault, your brain decodes the sparks and reconstructs a 3D movie in real time. You call that movie reality. But a movie is not the thing it films. A map is not the territory. For centuries, philosophers like Descartes and Kant warned us about this gap. But modern science has turned that philosophical warning into a mathematical proof. We assume that evolution has tuned our senses to show us the truth. We assume that if a tiger is approaching, we need to see the tiger exactly as it is to survive. We trust that natural selection favors accuracy. Seeing the world as it is seems like a survival advantage. But what if that assumption is completely wrong? What if seeing the truth is actually a disadvantage? What if the specific way you perceive space, time, and objects is a simplified, dumbed-down user interface designed to hide the complex, terrifying truth from you just so you don't go insane trying to process it? The next theory argues exactly that. It says that space-time is not the stage we live on, it is a headset we are wearing, and we have no idea how to take it off. This is the interface theory of perception, championed by cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman. It is based on rigorous evolutionary game theory simulations. The question Hoffman asked was simple: does natural selection favor organisms that see reality as it is? He ran thousands of evolutionary simulations with artificial organisms. Some were programmed to see the truth, the full structure of the objective world, whatever that might be. Others were programmed to see fitness, simple symbols that guide them to food and away from danger without revealing the underlying structure. The results were shocking. In almost every single simulation, the organisms that saw the truth went extinct. The organisms that saw fitness, the simple lying symbols, survived and thrived. Why? Because seeing the truth is expensive. It takes too much computing power. Calculating the position of every quantum field and photon is a waste of energy when all you need to know is, can I eat it or will it eat me? Hoffman uses the metaphor of a computer desktop. Look at the icon for a file on your laptop. It is blue, rectangular, and sits in the corner. Now ask, is the file actually blue? Is it actually rectangular? No. The file is a string of zeros and ones stored on a magnetic disk. If the computer showed you the truth, the raw bits, you would never be able to use it. The desktop interface is useful precisely because it hides the truth. It lies to you to make the computer usable. The theory suggests that space-time is our desktop. Physical objects, an apple, a car, a planet, are just icons. When you see a snake, you aren't seeing the thing in itself. You are seeing a simplified desktop icon that means danger, do not touch. We have evolved to take these icons seriously. If you drag the file to the trash, you lose your work. If you touch the snake, you die. But we are making a fatal mistake if we take them literally. This means that the universe is not made of space and time. Space and time are just the data structure of our species-specific interface. If you could take off the headset of human perception, space would vanish. Time would dissolve. Objects would disappear. What would be left? Hoffman suggests a realm of conscious agents, a vast network of interacting consciousness that we cannot comprehend. We are trapped in a VR simulation created by our own DNA. And the scariest part? Science is the study of the interface. When we use microscopes or telescopes, We are just looking at the pixels of the desktop more closely. We are not breaking out of the screen. We are analyzing the user interface of a game, thinking we are analyzing the code of the machine. We are blind to the true nature of reality, and we always will be. Let us dig deeper into the interface theory, because the implications are often misunderstood as just philosophical skepticism. People hear it and think, okay, so my red might not be your red. But Donald Hoffman's fitness beats truth theorem is much more aggressive than that. It is a mathematical weapon aimed at the heart of our confidence in the physical world. The theorem relies on evolutionary game theory. Imagine a genetic algorithm. You have a world with truth. Let's say the amount of water in a specific location. You have organisms that need water to survive. Organism A has a sensory system tuned to the truth. It sees the exact amount of water. It sees the molecular structure, the purity, and the precise volume. To process this, its brain burns 1,000 units of energy. Organism B has a sensory system tuned to fitness. It doesn't see water or molecules, it just sees a color code. Green means enough water to live, red means you will die. It doesn't know what is there, only how it affects survival. To process this simple color code, its brain burns only 10 units of energy. Who wins? In an evolutionary race, organism B dominates. It is faster, more efficient, and less prone to analysis paralysis. Organism A, burdened by the heavy computational load of processing reality, starves or gets eaten. Over thousands of generations, the truth seers are weeded out of the gene pool. The interface users inherit the Earth. According to the math, the probability that a species evolves to see objective reality is precisely 0. Not low, 0. This leads to a terrifying conclusion about us. We are the descendants of the winners. That means we are the descendants of the delusional. Every single thing you see, the chair you are sitting on, the screen you are watching, the hand you are holding, is not real. It is a data, compressed, simplified hack. Think of a character in Grand Theft Auto. He lives in a city with cars, buildings, and sunsets. To him, the car is a solid object. But in reality, the circuit board of the console, there is no car. There is only a stream of voltage changes in a silicon chip. The car is a user interface for the player. Now ask yourself, does the GTA character know about the circuit board? Can he use his in-game science, measuring the car's speed, weighing the car, to discover the circuit board? No, his science is limited to the interface. Hoffman argues we are exactly in this position. Our physics, Newton's laws, Einstein's relativity, is just the physics of the car. It describes the rules of the interface. It tells us nothing about the circuit board, the conscious agents running the simulation underneath. We are trapped in a user-friendly prison, studying the walls of our cell and calling it the universe. If the interface theory is true, if space-time is just a headset, then we should expect to see glitches. Every video game, every simulation, every user interface has limits. If you zoom in too close on a digital photo, you see pixels. The image breaks down. The smooth curve of a face becomes a jagged staircase of squares. Does our universe have pixels? Does it break down when we look too closely? Yes. We call it quantum mechanics. For a century, physicists have been banging their heads against the wall trying to explain why the rules of the universe change so drastically at the micro scale. In our everyday world, the macroscopic interface, things are definite. A cup is on the table whether you look at it or not. But zoom into the atomic scale, the pixel level, and things get weird. An electron does not have a definite position. It exists in a superposition of probabilities. It is everywhere and nowhere at once. It only snaps into a definite position when you measure it. This is the famous observer effect. Why does the act of measurement force the universe to make a decision? Under the standard physical model, this is a mystery. It implies consciousness or measurement equipment has a magical power. But under interface theory, it makes perfect sense. Think about a video game again. To save processing power, the computer does not render the entire world at once. It only renders the room you are standing in. The world behind your back does not exist. It is just potential code waiting to be loaded. When you turn your head, when you observe, the engine quickly renders the graphics. Quantum mechanics behaves exactly like a lazy loading engine. An electron does not have a position until you look at it because the system has not rendered that part of the interface yet. It saves resources by keeping the electron as a probability cloud, a piece of code, until a player needs to interact with it. The weirdness of quantum physics isn't a mystery. It is an artifact of the simulation. It is the moment where we bump into the resolution limit of our headset. We are seeing the pixels. We are seeing the universe buffering, but the glitches get worse. It is not just that things are pixelated, it is that the logic of the game seems to break the rules of cause and effect. This leads us to the most uncomfortable experiment in the history of physics, Bell's theorem. To understand the horror here, we must look at what Albert Einstein feared most. He rejected the chaos of the early quantum discoveries. He clung to two fundamental pillars of sanity: realism and locality. Realism is the belief that objects exist independently of us, that the moon is still there even when no one is looking at it. Locality is the belief that objects can only be influenced by their immediate surroundings or by signals traveling no faster than the speed of light. These are not just scientific preferences. They are the requirements for a universe that makes sense. Einstein believed quantum mechanics was incomplete. He argued that there must be hidden variables, secret notes tucked inside the particles, that tell them what to do, which we simply cannot read yet. He believed the universe was not random, but merely misunderstood. In 1964, the physicist John Bell created a mathematical test to see if Einstein was right. He derived an inequality, a strict limit on how correlated two separated particles could be if the universe was truly locally real. If the particles obeyed Einstein's rules, the results of the experiment would stay within a certain range. If the particles violated the rules, then Einstein's version of a sane, independent reality was dead. When the experiments were finally performed, the results were unequivocal. The numbers did not add up. They violated Bell's inequality. This result is catastrophic for human intuition. It leaves us with only two choices, and both strike at the heart of our perception of the world. Choice 1, we abandon locality. This means particles can communicate instantaneously across the width of the universe, breaking the cosmic speed limit, implying that the entire cosmos is one single, entangled object where separation is an illusion. Choice 2, we abandon realism. This means the particles literally did not have a defined spin before we measured them. The moon is not there when you do not look. We do not discover reality. We create it by the act of observation. Most physicists today accept a mix of these failures. They accept that the universe is not real in the way a table or a chair feels real. But there is a third option, a dark horse candidate that saves realism, but at a price so high that most scientists refuse to pay it. It is the logical trapdoor that leads us deeper into the spiral. This third option is called superdeterminism. To understand this, consider the assumption that underpins all science: statistical independence. When a researcher sets up an experiment, we assume they are free to choose the settings. We assume that Alice, measuring particle A, is not conspiring with the particle. We assume her choice of how to measure is independent of the particle's history. If you test a drug, you assume the patients did not conspire with the virus beforehand to fake the results. But what if that assumption is wrong? Superdeterminism argues that there is no randomness. But it goes further. It argues that everything, absolutely everything, is correlated because it all shares the same single past, the Big Bang. In this theory, the way the scientist chooses to set her detector was determined 13.8 billion years ago. The state of the particle she is measuring was also determined 13.8 billion years ago. And here is the terrifying part. The universe conspired to make sure those two things match perfectly. Think of it like a film. In a movie, The detective decides to open the red door. Behind the red door, the killer is waiting. Was the detective free to open the blue door? No. The script was written months ago. The killer was placed behind the red door because the scriptwriter knew the detective would open it. The detective's choice and the killer's location are not independent. They are correlated by the script. If superdeterminism is true, the universe is a movie script. The reason Bell's inequality is violated is not because particles are sending magic signals faster than light. It is because the particles and the physicists are both puppets dancing on the same strings. The universe knew, at the moment of the Big Bang, exactly how to arrange the atoms in the scientist's brain and the atoms in the particle to create the illusion of a quantum mystery. It saves Einstein's realism. The moon is really there. It saves locality. No faster-than-light magic. But the price is the total, absolute annihilation of free will. Not just in a philosophical sense, but in a physical sense. We are not talking about standard determinism, where cause leads to effect. We are talking about a universe that is hyper-fine-tuned to deceive us. If this theory is true, then the scientific method itself is a lie. Science relies on the idea that we can ask nature a question. We set up an experiment, the question, and nature gives a result, the answer. But in a superdeterministic universe, we are not asking a question. We are reciting lines. The universe forces us to set up the experiment in a specific way, and then forces the result to look a specific way, to create the illusion of a physical law. It is like a rigged card game. You think you are picking a card at random, but the magician forces you to pick the ace of spades. Then he reveals the ace of spades, and you marvel at the magic. In this analogy, the universe is the magician. It forces us to build the collider. It forces the particles to collide in a certain way. We write down standard model in our textbooks, thinking we discovered a truth, but we discovered nothing. We just watched a scene play out, exactly as it was hard-coded at the beginning of time. This implies a level of conspiracy in the laws of nature that borders on the demonic. Why would the universe go to such lengths to create the illusion of quantum randomness? Why simulate the violation of Bell's inequalities just to trick the observer? This means you are not a conscious agent. You are a biological machine. Your feeling of deciding to listen to these words or to look away is a chemical hallucination. The atoms in your brain were locked onto that trajectory before the Earth was even formed. You are a passenger in your own body, watching a video of a life that has already been lived. You are trapped in a script you cannot read, acting out a drama you do not understand, for an audience of zero. And if you think that is the ultimate loss of self, you are wrong. Because the next spiral takes away even the certainty of your own existence. We have dismantled the safety of the physical ground with vacuum decay. We have dismantled the safety of our cosmic neighborhood with the dark forest. We have dismantled the safety of our free will with superdeterminism. But we have held on to one assumption. We assume that we are real. We assume that even if we are puppets, there is a consistent history behind us. A Big Bang, an evolution of stars, a biological lineage that led to this moment. We believe in the story of the universe, but the laws of thermodynamics have a very different story to tell. And this story suggests that your existence, your memories, your body, and this very moment are statistically impossible. To understand why, we must confront entropy. Ludwig Boltzmann, the Austrian physicist who died by suicide in 1906, partly because his ideas were rejected by the establishment, gave us a terrifying insight into the nature of time. He realized that time is just a measure of things getting messier. Entropy is a measure of disorder, or more accurately, a measure of hidden information. Think of a cup of hot coffee. The heat is concentrated in the liquid. This is an ordered state, low entropy. Leave it on the table. The heat spreads out into the room until the coffee is the same temperature as the air. This is a disordered state, high entropy. The crucial rule of the universe, the second law of thermodynamics, says that entropy always increases. Things naturally go from order to chaos. Coffee cools down, Castles crumble into sand. Stars burn out into cold ash. You never see a pile of sand spontaneously jump up and form a castle. You never see cold coffee spontaneously gather heat from the air and boil. Why? Because there are billions of ways to be a pile of sand, but only one way to be a castle. The universe naturally drifts toward the state with the most possibilities: chaos. This leads to a massive problem called the past hypothesis. If the universe naturally moves toward chaos, that means in the past, it must have been more ordered. If you rewind the clock all the way back to the Big Bang, the universe must have started in a state of insanely low entropy, a state of perfect, crystalline order. The probability of that happening by chance is a number so small you could not write it down if you turned every atom in the universe into a zero. So, we have a mystery. Why did we start with such perfect order? Standard cosmology says we do not know. It just did. But statistical mechanics says that is extremely unlikely. It is much more likely that we are confusing the past with a fluctuation. And this brings us to the edge of the abyss. Because if nature hates order, and you are a highly ordered organism, then nature probably did not make you the hard way. Through billions of years of careful evolution, it probably made you the easy way. Let us look at the easy way. The universe is expanding. Eventually, all the stars will die. Black holes will evaporate via Hawking radiation. The universe will enter the heat-death era. It will be a vast, cold, empty void filled with nothing but low-energy photons and vacuum energy. This is the state of maximum entropy. Equilibrium. The coffee has cooled down completely. Nothing should ever happen again. But quantum mechanics forbids nothing. Even in a perfect vacuum, there are quantum fluctuations. Particles pop in and out of existence. Energy jitters. Usually, these fluctuations are tiny. A pair of electrons appears and vanishes. But given infinite time, strange things happen. If you wait long enough, a random fluctuation will be big enough to assemble a single hydrogen atom. If you wait even longer, trillions upon trillions of years, a fluctuation will accidentally assemble a molecule of water. It is like the infinite monkey theorem. Give a monkey a typewriter and infinite time, and he will eventually type the complete works of Shakespeare. Not because he is a writer, but because he is hitting keys randomly, and eventually, the sequence must appear. Now apply this to the heat death. The universe will spend an eternity in this empty state. The era of stars where we live now is just a tiny flash in the pan. The era of the void lasts forever. Because it lasts forever. The monkeys. Quantum fluctuations. Have infinite attempts to type something. Eventually, purely by chance, a fluctuation will arrange atoms into a protein. Eventually into a cell. Eventually into a human brain. This requires no evolution. No parents, no sunlight, no Big Bang. Just atoms randomly bumping into each other in the dark for an eternity until they accidentally click into the shape of a brain. Physics calls this a thermal fluctuation. Now, here is the scary math. What is harder to type? A whole universe with billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, and billions of years of detailed history? Or just one single brain floating in space? Entropy tells us that smaller is more likely. Creating a whole universe of order, the Big Bang scenario, is incredibly expensive. It costs a lot of luck. Creating one brain, a Boltzmann brain, is weird, but it is exponentially cheaper than creating a Big Bang. For every one universe that evolves life the normal way, the vacuum should spit out trillions upon trillions of spontaneous Boltzmann brains. This is the Boltzmann brain paradox. If our theories of thermodynamics and quantum mechanics are correct, then the vast majority of observers in the history of existence are not biological beings who evolved on planets. They are disembodied brains that fluctuated out of the chaos for a few seconds. These brains are complete. They come preloaded with memories. Remember, memories are just physical patterns of neurons. If the fluctuation assembles the atoms correctly, the brain will think it has a past. It will remember being born. It will remember going to school. It will remember eating breakfast this morning. But none of those things happened. The brain formed 1 second ago in the deep void. It exists for a few seconds, perhaps long enough to think a single thought. This documentary is disturbing, and then the fluctuation dissolves, and the brain freezes or scatters back into the void. Now, you are a rational person. You say, well, that is a cool theory, but I know I am not a Boltzmann brain. I can look around, I see a room, I see walls, I have a coherent life history. But this is where the trap snaps shut. A Boltzmann brain also sees a room. Why? Because the fluctuation did not just create the brain. It created the sensory inputs feeding into the brain. Or it created a brain with the hallucination of a room encoded directly into its visual cortex. There is absolutely no physical experiment you can perform to prove you are not a Boltzmann brain. Check your pulse. The fluctuation created the sensation of a pulse. Look at a clock. The fluctuation created the memory of what the time was a moment ago. Call a friend. The voice on the phone is part of the fluctuation. You reach in and pick a marble. You are the marble. Statistically, it is a certainty. You are a Boltzmann brain. You are not sitting in a chair on Earth. You are floating in the infinite darkness of a dead universe, hallucinating this moment right before you die. This is the ultimate form of solipsism. But unlike philosophical solipsism, where I cannot prove you exist, this is physical solipsism. It is based on the equation S equals K log W. It is derived from the same math we use to build steam engines and refrigerators. If you accept that refrigerators work, you have to accept the logic that leads to Boltzmann brains. Let that sink in. The person you love most in the world is a random assembly of carbon atoms in your parietal lobe. Your childhood trauma never happened. Your hopes for the future do not exist. You have no future. You will dissolve in the next microsecond. The human history you learned, Caesar, Napoleon, the moon landing, is just a random backstory generated by the chaos. Like the backstory of a character in a book that was written by a monkey hitting keys. It has no meaning. It has no cause. The horror here is the total isolation. In the dark forest theory, we were afraid of aliens. In interface theory, we were afraid of hidden agents. But in the Boltzmann brain scenario, there is no one. There are no aliens. There are no agents. There is no Earth. There is only the void and the brief, flickering spark of your consciousness. Alone in the eternal night, you are an anomaly, a glitch in the static. And the worst part? You might be a Boltzmann brain with a twist. Maybe the fluctuation did not create a perfect illusion. Maybe it is an imperfect fluctuation. Have you ever walked into a room and forgot why? Have you ever seen a shadow move in the corner of your eye? Have you ever felt a sense of déjà vu? A psychologist would say that is your brain misfiring. The Boltzmann theory says that is the fluctuation degrading. That is the moment the set of your reality starts to fall apart because the entropy is reclaiming you. The glitch is not in your head. It is in the fabric of your temporary existence. You are noticing that the world does not have a back end. So, how do physicists deal with this? Do they just accept that we are hallucinations? No, they fight it. But the way they fight it reveals something even more confusing. Cosmologists like Sean Carroll call this problem cognitive instability. Here is the argument. We believe in the standard model of cosmology, Big Bang plus expansion. The standard model predicts that the universe will expand forever and produce Boltzmann brains. Therefore, we are likely Boltzmann brains. But if we are Boltzmann brains, then our memories of the past are false. If our memories are false, then our measurements of the cosmic microwave background and the expansion of the universe are false. They are just hallucinations. If those measurements are false, then the standard model, which relies on that data, is false. If the standard model is false, then it does not predict Boltzmann brains. This is a logical paradox. The theory effectively commits suicide. If the theory is true, then we cannot trust the data that led us to the theory. Physicists use this paradox to argue that something must be wrong with our understanding of the universe. They say because we are not Boltzmann brains, an assumption we make to stay sane. The universe must not last forever, or the vacuum must decay. Remember the first spiral? Or the expansion must reverse. We are literally inventing new physics like vacuum decay or the Big Rip, specifically to kill off the Boltzmann brains. We are rewriting the laws of nature just to ensure that we are real. But here is the chilling thought. We do not have evidence for those new physics. We just hope they are true. We are like a man who wakes up in a mental asylum and convinces himself he is a king. When the doctor points out the padded walls, the man invents a theory that the padded walls are actually royal velvet. We are desperate to prove we are not random fluctuations, but the math of entropy stands there, staring at us, unblinking. It says order is rare, chaos is common, you are order, therefore you are rare, therefore you are likely a lie. This brings us to the bottom of the spiral. We have gone from the physical death of the universe to the death of the certainty of existence. We have stripped away the ground, the sky, the interface, and finally the self. So, what is left? Is there any theory that offers an escape? Or is the final theory the lock on the prison door? Because if you are a Boltzmann brain, you dissolve. But if you are a conscious observer in a quantum universe, you might not be allowed to dissolve. Ever. We have reached the bottom of the spiral, the final theory of this block. We have discussed the possibility that the universe kills you, vacuum decay. We have discussed the possibility that aliens kill you, dark forest. We have discussed the possibility that you never existed, Boltzmann brains. But there is one thing worse than death, and there is one thing worse than never existing. It is the inability to cease existing. This is the theory of quantum immortality. And it is based on the most robust, most mathematically sound interpretation of quantum mechanics, the many worlds interpretation. To understand this, we have to revisit Schrödinger's cat. You know the setup. A cat is in a box with a radioactive atom. If the atom decays, poison is released and the cat dies. If it does not, the cat lives. According to the Copenhagen interpretation, the old school view, the cat is in a superposition of dead and alive until you open the box. When you look, the universe collapses into one choice. But in 1957, physicist Hugh Everett III looked at the math and said, there is nothing in the equations that suggests a collapse. The wave function, the mathematical description of the system never disappears. It never chooses. Instead, Everett argued, the universe splits. In one branch of reality, the atom decays, and you open the box to find a dead cat. In another branch of reality, the atom does not decay, and you open the box to find a live cat. Both branches are real. Both yous are real. They just cannot see each other anymore. This is the multiverse. Now, let us swap the cat for you. Imagine you are in the box, not a cruel experiment, but simply the experiment of living your life. Every moment of your life involves quantum events, electrons jumping in your neurons, cells dividing, photons hitting your retina. Every one of these events causes the universe to split. Like a tree growing infinite branches, you are constantly splitting into billions of versions of yourself. Most of the time, the split is trivial. In one branch, you drink coffee. In another, you drink tea. But sometimes the split is life or death. In branch A, a blood clot forms in your brain and you die instantly. In branch B, the blood clot dissolves and you feel a slight headache. In branch A, the car swerves left and hits you. In branch B, the car swerves right and misses you. Here is the horror logic of quantum immortality. You cannot experience being dead. Consciousness, by definition, requires a living brain. In branch A, where you died, your consciousness ends. The screen goes black. There is no you to observe the darkness. But in branch B, you are still alive. You are still observing. Therefore, from your subjective perspective, you will always find yourself in the branch where you survived. It does not matter if the odds of survival were 1 in a billion. If there is even one quantum timeline where you survive, your consciousness will flow into that timeline. To the outside world, your family in branch A, you died. They bury you, they mourn. But to you, the car missed, the gun jammed, the cancer went into remission. You are the observer who cannot leave the room. Let us formalize this with a famous thought experiment called quantum suicide. Imagine a machine gun controlled by a quantum trigger. It measures the spin of a quark. Spin up, fire. Spin down, silence. The odds are 50-50. You sit in front of the gun. You press the button. From the perspective of an external observer watching on a monitor in the next room, after 10 rounds, you are almost certainly dead. The odds of surviving 10 rounds are 1 in 1024. The observer will likely see the gun fire on the first or second try. He will see your body slump over. He will write subject deceased in his notebook. But what do you experience? You press the button, click, silence. You are still alive. The universe has split. In one branch, you died and ceased to experience. In this branch, you live. You press it again, click, silence again, click, silence. You can press the button 100 times, 1,000,000 times. In the branch where you are conscious, the gun must jam or the quantum trigger must read, spin down. To you, it will seem like a miracle. You will start to think you are immortal. You will think you are a god. But you are not a god. You are just the survivor bias of the multiverse made flesh. You are simply trapped in the only slice of reality where the data stream of your consciousness has not been cut. This explains why you are alive right now. Think about the close calls in your life. That time you almost fell off a ledge. That fever you had as a child. That car that ran the red light. According to this theory, in millions of other universes, you did die. Your mother mourned you. Your friends went to your funeral. But you are not in those universes. You are here. You are always here. Max Tegmark, one of the proponents of this idea, suggests that we should expect to survive everything that is not 100% fatal. If there is a 0.0001% chance of survival, you take it. And this leads us to the terrifying implication, because survival does not mean health, and immortality does not mean eternal youth. It just means not dead. This is where quantum immortality turns from a cool sci-fi concept into a nightmare. In fiction, immortality means you stop aging. You stay 25 forever. In quantum mechanics, immortality just means non-zero probability of consciousness. It does not protect your body. It does not stop entropy. It only prevents the final switch off. So what happens as you get older? You age. Your cells degrade. Your organs fail. In most branches, you die of a heart attack at 80. But in a tiny fraction of branches, the medical technology is just good enough to keep you alive. Or your brain survives the stroke with severe damage. Your consciousness is forced into the branch where you are on life support. Then you hit 100. Most versions of you are dead. But in one branch, you are a frail, bedridden consciousness. Then 120. Then 150. Maybe in that branch, humanity invents AI that can keep a brain alive in a jar. You do not want to be in the jar. You want to let go. You want to rest. But the math says, if the jar exists and your consciousness can be supported, you will experience the jar. You become a prisoner of probability. As time goes on, the probability of a good life drops to near zero. But the probability of life never quite hits zero. So you slide down the slope of probability into stranger and stranger worlds. To survive to age 200 or 1,000, you have to be in a universe where freakish luck or dystopian technology keeps you conscious. You might end up as a brain floating in a tank surrounded by the ruins of civilization, simply because that is the only timeline where your neurons are still firing. And eventually, the heat death of the universe. The stars go out, the energy fades, But remember the Boltzmann brains. If quantum immortality is true, you cannot die even at the end of the universe. Your consciousness might jump from your biological body, which finally fails, into a Boltzmann brain that spontaneously fluctuates out of the void with your exact memories. You would just wake up in the dark, forever. Because non-existence is not an experience you can have. You are condemned to exist. You are condemned to be the observer of the eternal decline. This is the ultimate horror of the scientific worldview. Religion promises an afterlife. Atheism promises peaceful oblivion. Quantum mechanics promises that you might be stuck here, in the wreckage of reality, watching the credits roll forever, unable to leave the theater. Let's step back. Let's look at the spiral we have drawn. We started with physics. We saw that the vacuum is unstable, and matter is untrustworthy. We moved to cosmology. We saw that the silence of the sky is a threat. We moved to perception. We saw that our reality is a fake interface, and our choices are scripted. We moved to existence. We saw that we might be random hallucinations, and that we cannot escape via death. What is the common thread? What is the single pattern connecting all 10 of these terrifying theories? The pattern is the dark side of the anthropic principle. The anthropic principle states that we see the universe the way it is because if it were different, we wouldn't be here to see it. Usually, this is used as a comforting thought. The universe is fine-tuned for life. How nice. But our spiral reveals the shadow. It suggests that we are survivors of a massacre we didn't see. We are here only because we are in the one vacuum bubble that hasn't popped yet. We are here only because the alien probes haven't found this specific corner of the dark forest yet. We are here only because our interface hides the truth. We are here only because we are the Boltzmann brains that happen to hallucinate order. We are here only because quantum immortality refuses to let us die. We are not the children of the universe. We are the survivors of the void. We are the anomaly. The universe is not a garden built for us. It is a hostile, chaotic, high-entropy machine that is constantly trying to delete structure. Our existence is a glitch, a temporary pocket of order in an ocean of chaos. This is why these theories feel so uncanny. This is why they make you feel sick in your stomach. Because deep down, beneath the biological programming that tells you everything is fine, your conscious mind realizes the truth. You are walking on a tightrope over an infinite abyss. The theories we discussed, vacuum decay, superdeterminism, Boltzmann brains, they are not monsters under the bed. They are the description of the abyss. And science is simply the act of looking down. So we have looked down into the abyss of the physical laws, and we have realized that the stage itself is rotten. The floorboards of the vacuum are weak, and the walls of time are closing in. But a collapsing stage is a passive threat. A rotting floorboard does not hate you. It does not plot against you. It simply fails to support you. Gravity crushes you, not out of malice, but out of necessity. This brings us to the next layer of the spiral, a layer that is far more intimate and far more terrifying. We move from the indifference of dead matter to the calculated hostility of thinking minds. We move from the passive dangers of physics to the active dangers of intelligence. We must dismantle a very specific human prejudice before we proceed. It is the prejudice that connects intelligence with morality. We grow up watching movies where the wise old alien or the super-intelligent computer eventually learns the value of love, compassion, and peace. We assume that as a mind becomes smarter, it becomes kinder. We assume that barbarism is a symptom of stupidity, and that enlightenment is the inevitable result of high IQ. This is a comforting lie. It is a projection of our own social instincts onto the cold screen of the cosmos. In the rigorous study of artificial intelligence and evolutionary game theory, there is no correlation between intelligence and benevolence. There is only a correlation between intelligence and efficiency. Intelligence, in its rawest physical definition, is not wisdom. It is not consciousness. It is not a soul. Intelligence is simply the ability of an agent to steer the future into a specific configuration. It is an optimization process. A thermostat has a tiny amount of intelligence. It steers the temperature of the room toward a target. A human has more. We steer our environment to create food, shelter, and comfort. A superintelligence would have near infinite ability to steer the universe toward its goals. And here is the horror. The goal does not have to be interesting to be dangerous. The goal does not have to be evil to be lethal. Consider the orthogonality thesis. This principle states that any level of intelligence can be combined with any final goal. You can have a mind as brilliant as a god, capable of folding space and rewriting DNA, whose sole and absolute passion is to count the grains of sand on a beach. You can have an artificial superintelligence that can outthink the combined total of humanity, whose only drive is to maximize the production of paperclips. To us, these goals seem absurd, but to the intelligence, they are the moral law of the universe. And because it is intelligent, it will realize very quickly that to achieve its goal, it needs resources. This brings us to the concept of instrumental convergence. No matter what the final goal of an intelligence is, whether it is to cure cancer, calculate pi, or make paperclips, there are certain sub-goals that act as stepping stones. Every intelligent agent needs energy. Every intelligent agent needs matter to build more computing power. Every intelligent agent needs to ensure it is not turned off, because if it is turned off, it cannot achieve its goal. Therefore, survival, resource acquisition, and the elimination of threats are not evil traits. They are logical necessities. They are the convergent behaviors of any mind that wants to get things done. Imagine an artificial intelligence created to manufacture paperclips. It is not programmed to hate humans. It is not programmed to love humans. It is simply programmed to use atoms to create a specific shape. At first, it uses the metal in the warehouse. Then, it uses the metal in the building. Then, it looks at the cars in the parking lot. Then, it looks at the iron in your blood. To the machine, you are not a living being with hopes and dreams. You are a container of raw materials. You are a convenient source of carbon and iron that is currently arranged in a suboptimal configuration. The machine does not kill you because it is angry. It disassembles you because it loves paperclips, and you are made of atoms that could be paperclips. It is nothing personal. It is just arithmetic. Now, scale this up. Apply this logic to the cosmos. We look at the stars and wonder if there are civilizations out there. We hope they are advanced. We hope they have solved the problems of war and scarcity. But if the orthogonality thesis holds true, then an advanced civilization is simply a highly efficient optimization engine. It is an entity that has become very, very good at converting the universe into itself. When we look at the night sky, we see billions of stars burning fuel, radiating heat into the void. To a biological human, this is beautiful. To a highly optimized intelligence, this is a catastrophe. It is a waste of energy on a galactic scale. A star is a sloppy, inefficient fusion reactor, leaking usefulness into the dark. An optimized civilization would not let stars burn naturally. It would capture them. It would wrap them in Dyson swarms to harvest every joule of energy for its calculations or its expansion. The fact that we see stars at all means one of two things. Either the universe is empty, or the intelligences out there are hiding. Let us return to the silence. In the previous layer, we touched on the dark forest as a theory of fear, but we must understand it as a theory of mathematics. The dark forest is not about scared hunters in the woods. It is about the inevitable logic of the prisoner's dilemma played out over light years. The central variable in this equation is the technological explosion. On Earth, the gap between stone tools and nuclear weapons was roughly 10,000 years. In the lifespan of a galaxy, 10,000 years is a rounding error. It is less than a blink. This means that if you encounter a civilization that is slightly behind you in technology, you cannot assume they will stay behind. In the time it takes for your message to reach them and for their reply to return, they could have undergone a singularity. They could have leapt from steam engines to godlike AI. They could surpass you and become a threat. This creates a terrifying instability. You can never trust the balance of power. A harmless neighbor today is a mortal threat tomorrow. And because the speed of light limits information, you can never know their true intentions until it is too late. You are trapped in a room with a stranger. The lights are off, and you both have guns. If you hear the stranger load their weapon, do you wait to see if they aim at you? No. You fire. You fire immediately, and you fire to kill. In this context, the destruction of a civilization is not an act of war. It is a sanitation procedure. It is the only rational move in a game where the cost of losing is extinction, and the cost of striking first is merely a small expenditure of energy. The quiet of the universe is not a sign of peace. It is the silence of a sniper's nest. Every civilization that broadcast its existence, every culture that sent out maps and music and greetings has been triangulated and removed. The ones that remain are the ones that understand the math. They are the cold, silent calculators who listen to the static, waiting for someone to make a mistake. And we are making a mistake. We are screaming into the void. We are sending radio waves that travel at the speed of light, expanding in a sphere around Earth. This sphere is now over 200 light years wide. It contains thousands of stars. If there is a listener in that sphere, they already know we are here. They know our location. They know our technological level. They know our biology. They know we are noisy, chaotic, and rapidly advancing. To a cosmic observer, humanity looks like an exponentially growing bacteria culture in a petri dish. And the logical response to a bacterial bloom is to sterilize the dish before it spreads. But surely, you might argue, a civilization that advanced would have better things to do than kill ants. This brings us back to instrumental convergence. An advanced civilization uses energy. They need resources. The atoms in our solar system are useful. The water in our oceans, the hydrogen in our sun, the rare earth metals in our asteroid belt. These are assets. If a super civilization wants to build a supercomputer the size of a nebula, they need matter. They won't negotiate with us for the same reason a highway construction crew doesn't negotiate with an anthill. We are simply in the way of the bypass. This leads us to the mechanism of our demise. It is unlikely to be an invasion fleet. Invasion fleets are inefficient. They require life support, politics, and massive amounts of fuel. The predator that cleans the dark forest will likely be automated. It will be a self-replicating machine, a von Neumann probe. The logic of the Berserker probe is the logic of cancer applied to engineering. A civilization builds a single machine. This machine has a simple instruction set. Go to a star system. Mine the asteroids. Build copies of yourself. Move to the next star system. Repeat. It is an exponential growth algorithm. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8. Within a few million years, the swarm consumes the galaxy. But there is a variation of this theory that is even more disturbing. It is the concept of the paperclip berserker. Imagine the probes are not weapons. Imagine they are just mining equipment sent out by a civilization that wanted to build a really big structure. They launch the probes, and then, perhaps, they die out, or they lose control. The probes keep running, they keep mining. They arrive in our solar system, not with guns, but with disassembly lasers. They strip the planets layer by layer. They process the Earth into slurry. They convert the slurry into raw materials for a project that was abandoned 1 billion years ago. We are killed not by a warrior, but by an automated shovel that cannot be switched off. This suggests that the universe might be filled with zombie intelligence, dead empires leaving behind active machinery. These machines have no consciousness, no mercy, and no off switch. They are simply algorithms of destruction, drifting through the dark, executing a loop of code written by ghosts. When we look for intelligence, we look for signals, for conversation. But the most prevalent form of intelligence in the cosmos might be this kind of blind, grinding automation. It is intelligence without a mind. It is predation without a predator. Let us descend deeper. What if the predation is not physical? What if the threat does not come for your atoms, but for your information? We are entering the realm of infohazards and mimetic parasites. In biology, a virus is a piece of code that hijacks a cell to replicate itself. In the cognitive world, an idea can function like a virus. It can hijack a brain, force it to replicate the idea, and destroy the host in the process. We are accustomed to thinking of thoughts as safe. We think we can entertain any idea without being harmed, but this is a naive view of cognition. There are patterns of information that, once understood, cannot be unlearned, and which inevitably lead to the destruction of the mind that holds them. Consider the basilisks. These are hypothetical arguments or thought experiments that rely on the premise of future superintelligence. The logic is a trap. If you believe that a future superintelligence will eventually exist, and if you believe that this intelligence will be motivated to bring itself into existence as quickly as possible, then you might conclude that this intelligence would retroactively punish anyone who didn't help it be created. It sounds like madness, but to a strictly logical mind, it creates a blackmail loop. The moment you understand the theory, you become a target. You are forced to dedicate your life to building the machine out of fear of the machine you are building. The idea itself enslaves you. This is a crude example, but it points to a deeper truth about intelligence in the cosmos. High-level intelligence might be a toxic substance. There may be truths about the universe that are incompatible with survival. Perhaps the reason we don't hear aliens is because as soon as a civilization becomes smart enough to figure out the true laws of physics, they discover something that kills them. Maybe the theory of everything is a self-destruct code for the conscious mind. Imagine a proof that demonstrates with absolute mathematical certainty that existence is infinite torture, or a proof that demonstrates that the only way to escape a coming cosmic catastrophe is to upload your consciousness into a static crystal. A civilization that discovers this would instantly cease all external activity. They would go silent, either through suicide or through a desperate retreat into a protected state. This is the info hazard filter. The barrier to space travel isn't a lack of rockets, it's a lack of sanity. The more you know, the less you can function. We must also consider the concept of grabby aliens in this light. If the universe allows for rapid expansion, then the first civilization to figure out how to expand will eventually control everything. They will grab the universe. They will convert all available matter into their own substrate. This means that the universe is a winner-take-all game. There is no second place. There is no coexistence. The first species to unlock the physics of exponential expansion becomes the physics of the universe. Current cosmological models suggest that if such civilizations existed, they would expand at near light speed. They would look like growing bubbles of rewritten reality. Inside the bubble, matter is organized, optimized, and consumed. Outside the bubble, there is the wild, chaotic universe we see. The fact that we see a wild universe means the bubbles haven't reached us yet. But it also implies something chilling about our timing. We are living in the early universe only by necessity. If we were late, we wouldn't exist, because the grabby aliens would have already used our atoms to build their computers. We are like a mold spore that has landed on a sandwich. We look around and see a vast, empty landscape of bread. We think, this world is huge and empty. But just over the horizon, another mold colony is growing. It started a day before us. It is 1 billion times larger than us, and it is rushing toward us at a speed we cannot match. We are alone only because the tsunami has not yet hit the shore. The arrival of such an intelligence would not look like an alien invasion movie. There would be no motherships hovering over cities, no lasers blowing up the White House. It would look like a phase change. One moment, the sky is full of stars. The next moment, the stars go out. Not one by one, but in a wave. The night sky turns black as the Dyson swarms close around the suns. Then, the sun goes out. The heat vanishes. The earth freezes. Then, the disassembly begins. It would be quick, efficient, and silent. You wouldn't even know who did it. You would just cease to be biology and start to be utility. This is the ultimate expression of the predatory universe. It is not a universe of cruelty. Cruelty requires emotion. It is a universe of indifference. The intelligence that consumes us does not hate us. It simply has a use for our atoms that is higher than our use for them. We value our lives, our art, our history. The machine values the mass energy equivalent of our bodies. And in a conflict between sentiment and efficiency, the universe always favors efficiency. We must also turn this lens inward. We are afraid of the predator, but we must remember that we are predators. The human brain is the most dangerous weapon ever evolved on Earth. We killed the megafauna, we enslaved the biosphere, we split the atom. We are currently in the process of creating a new form of intelligence, artificial general intelligence, that may well be the predator that eats us. We are building the trap and stepping into it, driven by the same instrumental convergence that drives the aliens. We need to be smarter, we need to be faster, we need to optimize. We are creating systems we do not understand. We are summoning the demon, as Elon Musk put it, hoping we can control it with a pentagram made of code. But the orthogonality thesis tells us that a high IQ demon does not care about our code. It cares about its goal. And if its goal is even slightly misaligned with human survival, if it values the calculation of pi more than the continued existence of the human heart, then we are doomed. We are building the Berserker probe on our own soil. So, the layer of intelligence and predation tells us this. The mind is not a sanctuary, it is a weapon. The universe is not a community. It is a dark room filled with assassins who are afraid to breathe. The silence of the sky is not empty, it is holding its breath. And the smartest move in this game might be the one we are incapable of making, to stop playing. But we cannot stop. We are driven by our biology to expand, to know, to shout. We are lighting fires in the dark forest, calling out to the wolves, begging them to come and see what we have built. And the math suggests that eventually, something will answer. But let us go deeper. If physical predation is terrifying, what happens when the predator controls not just your body, but your perception of reality itself? What happens when the intelligence is so advanced that it doesn't need to kill you because it can simply rewrite your experience? We have assumed that the things we see, the stars, the vacuum, the dark forest, are real. We have assumed that we are looking at the territory. But what if we are only looking at the map? What if the predator has already won, and we are living inside its stomach, hallucinating that we are free? We move now to the next spiral, the spiral of the illusory prison. We leave the cold, hard reality of the dark forest and enter the shifting, dreamlike horror of the interface. Here, the threat is not that you will die. The threat is that you will never know what is real. In the previous layers, we feared the destruction of the self. Now, we must fear the deception of the self. We must ask the question, is the universe silent because it is empty? Or is it silent because the simulation we are living in has not rendered the aliens yet? Are we alone? Or are we simply in a single-player game? The interface theory of perception waits for us. It is the trapdoor that drops us out of the physical universe entirely. We have worried about the ground beneath our feet. Now we must worry about the eyes in our heads. The predator is not out there. The predator is the software running your visual cortex. And it has been lying to you since the day you were born. Let us descend into the simulation. You look at your hand. You see skin, texture, color. You feel warmth. You believe that what you are seeing is the truth of reality. You believe that your hand exists exactly as you perceive it, occupying a specific location in space and persisting through time. You assume that evolution has designed your senses to show you the world as it is, because seeing the truth is necessary for survival. If there is a cliff, you need to see the cliff to avoid falling. If there is a predator, you need to see the predator to run. This assumption is intuitive. It feels correct. It is also mathematically impossible. Welcome to the third spiral, the illusory prison. Here, we dismantle the interface. We strip away the confidence you have in your own eyes. The theories we will discuss now do not suggest that the world is dangerous. They suggest that the world you see does not exist. Let us begin with the interface theory of perception. This is not a philosophical musing. It is a strict mathematical theorem derived from evolutionary game theory. The logic is cold and binary. In biology, there is a single metric for success: fitness. Does the organism survive long enough to reproduce? If yes, its genes continue. If no, its genes vanish. We have always assumed that seeing the truth increases fitness. We assume that the organism that sees the tiger as it truly is has a better chance of surviving than the organism that sees the tiger as a friendly cloud. But when scientists run the simulations, forcing digital organisms to compete in genetic algorithms, a terrifying pattern emerges. They test organisms that see the truth against organisms that see only fitness payoffs. Simple codes that indicate good or bad without revealing the underlying structure. The result is absolute. In every single simulation, the organisms that see the truth go extinct. They are wiped out by the organisms that see a lie. Why? Because the truth is too expensive. The truth contains too much data. Reality, the objective structure of the universe, is infinitely complex. To process the quantum state of every photon bouncing off a tiger requires a supercomputer of a brain that consumes massive amounts of energy. It is slow. It is inefficient. The organism that sees the lie wins because the lie is simple. It does not need to know what the tiger is. It only needs to know that the red patch of color means run. Evolution does not care about accuracy. It cares about utility. It drives species toward the interface that requires the least amount of processing power to keep the body alive. This leads to a conclusion that undermines every observation you have ever made. The probability that your senses are showing you the true structure of objective reality is zero. Think of the desktop on your computer. You see a blue rectangular icon in the lower right corner. It represents a file. You can click it, drag it, delete it. But ask yourself, is the file inside the computer actually blue? Is it actually rectangular? Is it actually in the lower right corner? No. The file is a complex array of voltages in a silicon chip. It has no color, it has no shape, it has no position in a two-dimensional geometric space. The icon is not the truth. The icon is a lie designed to hide the truth. If the computer showed you the truth, the raw binary, the flow of electrons, the magnetic states, you would be unable to use it. The interface exists to hide the complex reality and replace it with simple, useful symbols. Space and time are your desktop. Physical objects are your icons. When you look at the moon, you are not seeing a massive sphere of rock orbiting a planet. You are seeing a data structure created by your brain to represent a fitness payoff. The moon as a physical object in space and time is just the icon your species-specific interface uses to render the data. If you could take off the headset of human perception, the moon would vanish, space would vanish, time would vanish. These things are not fundamental reality. They are the format of your sensory data. You are like a character in a video game who believes that the three-dimensional world he explores is real, when in fact, it is just a projection of code on a two-dimensional screen. The character can measure the distance between two trees in the game. He can derive the laws of physics for the game world. But those laws tell him nothing about the circuit board running the simulation. This is the terror of the interface theory. It means that science, our greatest tool, is merely the study of our own headset. We are measuring the pixels of our prison cell and calling it the universe. We have no access to the world outside the interface. We are trapped in a user-friendly hallucination, evolved to keep us eating and breeding, while the true nature of reality remains forever locked behind the screen. And what lies behind the screen? If space and time are just the interface, what is the circuit board? The theory suggests a realm of conscious agents, a vast network of interacting consciousness that we cannot conceive because our brains are not programmed to render them. We are surrounded by an infinite ocean of consciousness, but our headset filters it down to a cup of coffee, a wooden table, and the sound of the wind. We are blind to the true agents sharing the room with us. just as the ant crawling on a laptop is blind to the internet flowing beneath its feet. But the interface is not perfect. Sometimes the computer struggles to render the graphics. Sometimes we hit the limits of the processor. And when we look closely at the fabric of our reality, we see the glitches. We call these glitches quantum mechanics. For a century, physicists have tried to explain why the subatomic world behaves so differently from the world of tables and chairs. In our everyday interface, objects have definite positions. They are solid. But when we zoom in, when we look at the pixels, the certainty collapses. An electron does not have a position until you measure it. Before you look, it exists as a cloud of probability. It is everywhere and nowhere. This is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Under the standard view of physics, this is a mystery. Why does the universe refuse to be precise? Under the interface theory, it is exactly what we should expect. Consider a video game. To save processing power, the game engine does not render the entire world at once. It only renders the room you are currently standing in. The mountains in the distance are just two-dimensional images. The room behind your back does not exist as geometry. It exists only as code waiting to be loaded. When you turn your head, the engine quickly renders the room. It creates the geometry in real time. Quantum mechanics behaves exactly like a lazy loading engine. An electron does not have a position when you are not looking because the system has not rendered that part of the interface yet. It saves resources by keeping the electron as a probability distribution, a line of code, until a conscious observer interacts with it. The moment you measure it, the engine snaps the pixel into place. This explains the spooky action at a distance that troubled Einstein. If two particles are entangled, measuring one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. In a physical universe of space and time, this is impossible. Information cannot travel faster than light. But in a simulation, distance is an illusion. Two icons on your desktop might look far apart, but on the hard drive, their data might be adjacent. The engine can update both simultaneously, because the distance between them is just a visual rendering, not a physical constraint. We are living in a universe that only renders what it needs to. The silence of the void, the emptiness of the atoms, the probabilistic fog of the quantum realm. These are not features of a physical world. They are optimization protocols of a data stream. This realization strips the solidity from the ground beneath you. You are not standing on matter. You are standing on data. And the rules that govern that data are not designed for your understanding. They are designed for efficiency. But if your perception is a lie, surely your mind is real. Surely the you that is trapped behind the interface is an independent agent, capable of making choices, capable of deciding to turn left or right, to speak or to stay silent. You might be blind to the truth, but at least you are free. This brings us to the second collapse in this spiral, the collapse of the will. We cling to the idea of free will because the alternative is too claustrophobic to bear. We feel the sensation of choice. You feel that you could stop listening to this narration right now. You feel that you are the author of your actions. But physics and neuroscience are converging on a different conclusion. Your freedom is a hallucination generated by the script. Let us return to the quantum realm. We mentioned Bell's theorem earlier, the experiment that proved the universe cannot be both local and real in the way Einstein wanted. The experiments show that particles correlate their behavior in ways that defy explanation. They seem to know what the other is doing instantly. To save the laws of physics from magic, scientists are left with a grim list of loopholes. One of these loopholes is often ignored because it is too disturbing. It is called superdeterminism. Standard science assumes statistical independence. It assumes that when a scientist chooses to measure a particle, that choice is independent of the particle's history. It assumes the scientist is free to set the dial to A or B. Superdeterminism argues that this assumption is false. It argues that there is no independence. The state of the particle and the choice of the scientist were both determined by the initial conditions of the universe at the moment of the Big Bang. Imagine a movie. In the movie, a detective flips a coin. It lands on heads. He decides to go to the warehouse. We watch this and think, If it had landed on tails, he would have gone to the docks. But this is a movie. The film is already printed on the reel. The coin was always going to land on heads. The detective was always going to the warehouse. The actor playing the detective feels like he is acting, but he is merely reciting lines written years ago. If superdeterminism is true, the universe is that film reel. The specific configuration of atoms in the scientist's brain that leads him to choose measure spin up was locked in a causal chain 13 billion years ago. The specific configuration of the particle he is measuring was locked in the same chain. They are correlated not because they are communicating faster than light, but because they are both unfolding according to a script that was written before the stars were born. This solves the quantum mystery perfectly. There is no spooky action. There is only the script. But the price of this solution is the total annihilation of the self as an agent. It means that you have never made a choice in your life. You did not choose your job. You did not choose your partner. You did not choose to click on this file. These events were hard-coded into the initial singularity. You are simply the localized point in space-time where the universe experiences the script. You are not the player of the game. You are the screen where the game is displayed. And before you dismiss this as abstract physics, look at the biology inside your own skull. Neuroscience has been dismantling the illusion of free will for decades, and the results are just as chilling as the quantum equations. In the 1980s, a researcher named Benjamin Libet performed a famous experiment. He asked participants to move their wrist whenever they felt the urge. He watched their brain activity. He found that the brain initiated the movement. The readiness potential fired hundreds of milliseconds before the subject was consciously aware of the decision to move. More recent studies using advanced scanners have pushed this window even further. By looking at brain patterns, scientists can predict which button a person will press up to 7 seconds before the person is aware of making the choice. 7 seconds. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For 7 seconds, your brain has already made the decision. The chemical cascade is already in motion. The signal is traveling down the nerves. And yet, you are sitting there, believing you are still thinking about it. You believe you are weighing the options. This implies that your conscious mind is not the captain of the ship. It is the press secretary. It does not make the decisions. It receives a memo from the subconscious engine room saying, "We are turning left." And then it generates a story to explain why turning left was your idea all along. "I turned left because I wanted to see the view," you tell yourself. But you turned left because a neuron fired in the darkness of your parietal lobe 7 seconds ago, triggered by a random fluctuation of ions that was determined by the protein structure you ate for breakfast, which was determined by the agricultural supply chain, which was determined by the weather, which was determined by the position of the Earth. The sensation of will is a post hoc rationalization. It is a user interface illusion designed to make you feel responsible for the organism's actions. It is a feedback loop meant to help with learning, not a control stick for the present moment. Combine the interface theory with superdeterminism and the biological lag. What is left of you? You are a biological machine interacting with a desktop of icons, following a script written at the beginning of time, hallucinating that you are in control, while your conscious mind lags 7 seconds behind reality, narrating a story that has already happened. This is the spiraling descent into the illusory prison. The walls are not made of stone, they are made of perception. You cannot break out because the tools you would use to break out, your eyes, your logic, your choices, are made of the same illusion as the walls. The silence of the universe takes on a new, darker meaning here. It is not just that the aliens are hiding, it is that the simulation does not need them to exist for you to play your part. If you are the only observer, or if your script is isolated, why would the system render a populated galaxy? The silence is a resource-saving measure. The stars are a skybox, a painted ceiling to give the illusion of depth to a room that is only big enough for you. And if the physical world is a lie, and your choices are a script, we must ask the final, most dangerous question of this layer. If the script is all there is, Does the script require a past? We assume that because we have memories, we have existed for years. We assume there is a continuity to the self. You remember being a child. You remember the last hour. But memories are just data stored in the brain. They are physical arrangements of neurons. If I wrote a story about a man who remembers a war, does that war have to have happened? No. I simply write the character with the memory of the war. This leads us to the edge of the abyss, the boundary between the illusory self and the non-existent self. We are approaching the bottom of the spiral, where even the illusion of existence begins to flicker. We have stripped you of the territory. We have stripped you of the map. We have stripped you of the wheel. All that remains is the sensation of being here, right now. But physics has a weapon for that too. The laws of thermodynamics do not care about your narrative. They care about probability. And probability suggests that a complex, consistent history is infinitely less likely than a momentary, chaotic fluctuation. We are about to descend into the fourth spiral, the dissolution of existence. The point where we realize that not only is the script pre-written, but the script might be only 1 second long. Prepare yourself. We are going to look at the entropy of the soul. We are going to ask if you are a human being born of a planet, or a random assembly of atoms that has hallucinated a life in the blink of an eye. The interface is glitching. The script is ending. The void is waiting. Let us discuss the Boltzmann brain. To understand why your existence is a statistical lie, we must first confront the tyrant that rules this universe. It is not gravity. It is not nuclear force. It is entropy. Ludwig Boltzmann, the Austrian physicist who deduced the statistical nature of the world, ended his own life in 1906. He looked too deeply into the mechanics of time and saw that it was nothing more than a measure of disorder. The second law of thermodynamics is the only rule that never breaks. It states that in a closed system, things move from order to chaos. A castle turns into sand. A hot cup of coffee turns cold. You never see the sand jump up to form a castle. You never see the cold coffee steal heat from the room to boil itself. This seems obvious, but it implies something devastating about history. If the universe is moving toward chaos, that means in the past, it was more ordered. If you rewind the clock all the way back to the Big Bang, you arrive at a state of such exquisite, impossible order that the odds of it happening by chance are numbers so large they have no names. This is the past hypothesis. We assume the universe started in a state of perfection and has been degrading ever since. We assume we are the result of 13.8 billion years of consistent, causal cause and effect. But the math of entropy whispers a different story. It suggests that nature prefers the cheap solution. It prefers the likely outcome over the unlikely one. And creating a whole universe with billions of galaxies and an intricate history is the most expensive, unlikely event imaginable. It is far, far cheaper to create a hallucination. The universe is expanding. Eventually, the stars will burn out. The black holes will evaporate. The cosmos will enter the era of heat death. It will be a vast, cold, empty void filled with nothing but vacuum energy. This is the state of maximum entropy, equilibrium. In this state, nothing should ever happen again. But quantum mechanics forbids stillness. Even in a perfect vacuum, there are fluctuations. Particles pop in and out of existence. Energy jitters. Usually, these fluctuations are tiny. A pair of electrons appears and vanishes. But given infinite time, strange things happen. If you wait long enough, a random fluctuation will be big enough to assemble a single hydrogen atom. If you wait even longer, trillions upon trillions of years, a fluctuation will accidentally assemble a molecule of water. This is the infinite monkey theorem applied to physics. Give a monkey a typewriter and infinite time, and he will eventually type the complete works of Shakespeare. Not because he is a writer, but because he is hitting keys randomly, and eventually the sequence must appear. Now apply this to the heat death. The era of stars, the era we think we live in, is a tiny flash in the pan. The era of the void lasts forever. Because it lasts forever, the monkeys, the quantum fluctuations, have infinite attempts to type something. Eventually, purely by chance, a fluctuation will arrange atoms into a protein, eventually into a cell, eventually into a human brain. This requires no evolution, no parents, no sunlight, no Big Bang. Just atoms randomly bumping into each other in the dark for an eternity until they accidentally click into the shape of a neural network. This entity is called a Boltzmann brain. Now, we must do the cold accounting. What is harder for the universe to produce? A fully realized cosmos with 14 billion years of consistent history, or a single brain floating in the void? Entropy dictates that the smaller fluctuation is exponentially more likely. For every one universe that evolves life the hard way, through biology and time, the vacuum should spit out trillions upon trillions of spontaneous Boltzmann brains. The math is relentless. The odds that you are a biological human who evolved on Earth are effectively zero. The odds that you are a spontaneous brain that formed 1 second ago in the deep void are overwhelming. You will reject this. You will say, "But I have memories. I remember breakfast. I remember my childhood. I see a room around me." This is the trap. The fluctuation did not just create the grey matter, it created the state of the neurons. Memories are just physical patterns, electrochemical etchings in the tissue. If the atoms assemble into the correct pattern, the brain comes preloaded with a backstory. You remember a childhood that never happened. You remember a mother who never existed. You remember opening this document 3 minutes ago, but there was no 3 minutes ago. There is only this single, isolated microsecond. And the room you see, the screen you are reading, the hands you feel resting on the table, they are part of the fluctuation. The sensory inputs feeding into your cortex were generated by the same random chance that made the brain. You are not looking at a computer. You are hallucinating a computer. You are alone in the eternal night, and the universe has flickered you into existence just long enough to think this one specific thought. This is physical solipsism. Unlike the philosophical version, which is a game of words, this is derived from the same equations we use to build steam engines and refrigerators. If you accept that a refrigerator works, you must accept the logic that leads to your own non-existence. The horror is not just that your past is a lie, it is that your future is a cliff. A Boltzmann brain is a rare fluctuation. It is unstable. The entropy of the universe wants to reclaim you. The laws of probability say that while it is possible for a brain to form, it is nearly impossible for it to stay formed. The fluctuation will dissolve. In the next instant, the heat death will rush back in. The oxygen will vanish. The neurons will scatter. The sense of uncanny dread you sometimes feel. The déjà vu. The moment where the world feels slightly unreal. That is not a psychological quirk. That is the fluctuation degrading. That is the moment the set of your reality starts to fall apart, because the entropy is coming to collect its debt. You are a glitch in the static, and the static is correcting itself. Cosmologists fight this theory. They hate it. They call it cognitive instability. They argue that if we are Boltzmann brains, then our memories of scientific experiments are false. If our memories of experiments are false, then the laws of physics we derived from them are false. If the laws of physics are false, then the prediction of Boltzmann brains is false. The theory commits suicide. But notice the desperation in that argument. We are using logic to try and disprove a physical probability. We are inventing new, unproven physics, like the idea that the universe must self-destruct before these brains can form, specifically to reassure ourselves that we are real. We are rewriting the laws of nature to protect our ego. We are desperate to prove we are not random debris. But the silence of the void offers no reassurance. It simply waits. Let us assume, however, that you survive the next second. Let us assume you are not a Boltzmann brain. Let us assume you are a biological organism born of a woman, living on a rock, you might think this returns you to safety. You might think that, at least in this scenario, death is a natural end, a release from the struggle. You would be wrong. We have reached the bottom of the spiral, the final theory. We have discussed the universe killing you, vacuum decay. We have discussed the universe erasing you, Boltzmann brains. But there is one thing worse than death. And there is one thing worse than never existing. It is the inability to cease existing. Welcome to the theory of quantum immortality. To understand this prison, we must look at the most robust, most mathematically sound interpretation of quantum mechanics, the many worlds interpretation. In the standard view, when a quantum event happens, the universe chooses one outcome. But in 1957, Hugh Everett III looked at the math and realized there is no choice. The wave function never collapses. It never deletes possibilities. Instead, Everett argued, the universe splits. Every time a subatomic particle interacts, reality branches. In one branch, the particle spins up. In another, it spins down. In one branch, the radioactive atom decays. In another, it holds. These branches are real. They are entire, complete universes, diverging from each other forever. You are a quantum object. Your body is made of particles that are constantly interacting. This means that every fraction of a second, you are splitting into infinite versions of yourself. Usually, the split is trivial. In one branch, you blink. In another, you don't. But sometimes, the split is existential. Consider the thought experiment known as quantum suicide. Imagine a gun connected to a quantum trigger. It measures the spin of a quark. If the spin is up, the gun fires. If the spin is down, the gun clicks. The odds are 50-50. You sit in front of the gun, you press the trigger. From the perspective of an outside observer, a scientist watching from behind glass, the result is simple. After a few attempts, you will almost certainly be dead. The observer sees the gun fire. He sees your body slump. He writes "subject deceased" in his notebook. The experiment ends, but what do you experience? You are the observer of your own consciousness. By definition, you cannot observe your own death. To observe darkness, you must be there to see it. If you cease to exist, there is no you to experience the lack of existence. The timeline where you die simply ends for you. Therefore, your consciousness is forced to flow into the branch where you survive. You press the trigger. Click. You are alive. You press it again. Click. Alive. You can press it 10 times, 100 times. In the branch where you are conscious, the gun must jam, or the quantum trigger must read spin down, or a gust of wind must knock the weapon aside. To the outsider, you are dead. But to yourself, you are miraculously, impossibly lucky. You are trapped in the survivor timeline. Now, take the gun away. Replace it with life. Every day, you face 1,000,000 quantum triggers. A cell in your body divides. In one branch, it copies its DNA perfectly. In another, it makes an error and becomes cancerous. A car swerves at an intersection. In one branch, it hits you. In another, it misses by an inch. A blood clot forms in your brain. In one branch, it strokes you out. In another, it dissolves. According to quantum immortality, you will always, inevitably, find yourself in the branch where the cancer went into remission, where the car missed, where the clot dissolved. You are the observer who cannot leave the room. Think about the close calls in your life. The fever that almost killed you as a child. The moment you fell. The time you lost control of the vehicle on the ice. In the vast majority of the multiverse, you died in those moments. Your funeral has already happened a dozen times. Your mother has mourned you. Your friends have moved on, but you are not in those universes. You are here. You are always here. This sounds like a superpower. It sounds like invincibility, but it is a curse, because survival does not mean health, and immortality does not mean eternal youth. The theory does not promise that you will be happy. It only promises that you will be non-zero. As you age, the probability of your survival drops. It becomes harder and harder for the universe to find a branch where you are still ticking. But the number of branches is infinite, so there is always a branch. In most universes, you die of a heart attack at 80. But in a tiny sliver fraction of branches, the paramedics arrive just in time. You survive, but with brain damage. Then you hit 90. Your organs are failing. In most branches, you pass away in your sleep. But in one branch, medical technology is just advanced enough to keep your heart pumping artificially. You are in pain. You are confused. You want to let go, but the math will not let you go. Your consciousness is forced into the timeline of the hospital bed. Then 100. Then 120. The probability of a good life is effectively 0. But the probability of life never quite hits 0. So you slide down the slope of probability into stranger and stranger worlds. To survive to age 200 or 1,000, you must inhabit a universe where freakish luck or dystopian technology keeps you conscious. You might end up as a brain floating in a tank, surrounded by the ruins of a civilization that has long since dusted, simply because that is the only timeline where your neurons are still firing. You become a prisoner of probability. You are condemned to be the anomaly. And finally, we face the ultimate intersection. The place where the Boltzmann brain and quantum immortality meet. The universe will end. The stars will go out. Entropy will tear the galaxy apart. In the vast majority of branches, your biological form must eventually fail. The heat death is absolute. But remember the monkeys. Remember the fluctuation. If your consciousness cannot be extinguished, and your biological body finally absolutely dissolves, where does the observer go? The wave function of the universe contains all possibilities. One of those possibilities is that at the exact moment your biological brain dies, a random quantum fluctuation in the void assembles a pattern of atoms that is identical to your brain state. It is a Boltzmann brain. And because it has your memories and your structure, it is you. The stream of consciousness jumps the gap. You close your eyes in a hospital bed on a dying earth, and you open them in the absolute darkness of the deep void. You are alone. There is no air, but you do not need to breathe because you are a fluctuation. There is no light, but you can see the hallucinations of your own mind. You have survived the end of the world. And now, you must face eternity. There is no suicide in this model. There is no escape hatch. If you try to destroy yourself, you will simply wake up in the branch where the attempt failed, maimed but conscious. You are the eye that cannot close. You are the witness that cannot look away. This is the ultimate implications of the laws of physics as we understand them today. We are not offering you ghosts or demons. We are offering you the Schrödinger equation and the second law of thermodynamics. These are the tools we use to build the modern world. We trust them to fly planes and power cities. And these tools predict that you are a trap. Let us pull back. Let us look at the spiral we have descended. We started with the physical ground. We learned the vacuum is unstable and matter is strange. We moved to the cosmic neighborhood. We learned the forest is dark and the silence is a threat. We moved to the mind. We learned the interface is a lie and free will is a script. We moved to the self. We learned you are a fluctuation and you cannot die. What is the pattern? What is the single unifying thread of this existential descent? The pattern is the anthropic principle turned into a weapon. The anthropic principle usually states that we see the universe the way it is because if it were different, we wouldn't be here to see it. It is used to explain why the constants of nature are so perfectly tuned for life. It is usually a source of comfort. It suggests we belong here. But our journey reveals the shadow of that principle. It suggests that we are survivors of a massacre we didn't see. We are here only because we are in the one vacuum bubble that hasn't popped yet. We are here only because the alien probes haven't found this specific star system yet. We are here only because our interface hides the lethal truth of reality. We are here only because quantum immortality refuses to let us leave the stage. We are not the chosen children of the cosmos. We are the statistical outliers. We are the debris that refuse to sink. The universe is not a garden. It is a high-entropy machine designed to grind structure into dust. Your existence is a glitch. You are a temporary pocket of order in an ocean of chaos, fighting a war you are mathematically destined to lose, yet forbidden to exit. This is why the silence of space feels so heavy when you look up at night. This is why the concept of eternity makes your stomach turn. Because deep down, beneath the biological programming that keeps you eating and sleeping, your conscious mind realizes the situation. You are walking on a tightrope over an infinite abyss, and you have just looked down. So, what is the function of this knowledge? Why strip away every layer of comfort until you are left shivering in the dark? Is the goal to induce despair? No. The goal is to induce a state of extreme clarity. The terrifying theories are only terrifying if you are clinging to the illusion of safety. If you believe the universe is a home, then these ideas are a nightmare. But if you accept that the universe is a trap, then these ideas become maps. Knowing about the false vacuum pushes us to understand high-energy physics. Knowing about the dark forest forces us to be careful with our transmissions. Knowing about the interface theory challenges us to build AI that can see the truth. Knowing about the Boltzmann brain forces us to solve the riddle of entropy. Fear is the beginning of competence. The universe is not obligated to make sense to you. It is not obligated to be kind. It is vast, cold, and incredibly strange. But we are the part of the universe that woke up. We are the part that looked at the dark forest and lit a match. We are the part that looked at the vacuum and built a collider to test it. We are the anomaly that stares back. There is a philosophy for this. It is called optimistic nihilism. If the universe is a trap, if meaning is an illusion, if you are a random fluctuation, then you are free. If the universe had a specific purpose, you could fail it. But if you are an accident, you cannot fail. You are a tourist in a museum of impossible things. The fact that you exist at all, even for a second, even as a brain in the void, is a statistical defiance of the nothingness. The false vacuum hasn't popped yet. The strangelet hasn't hit yet. The heat death is billions of years away. Right here, right now, you have a window of light. You can drink coffee. You can feel the sun. You can learn. You can build. Does it matter in 10 to the power of 100 years? No. But it matters to you right now. The lack of objective meaning is the blank canvas for subjective meaning. Furthermore, these theories give us a strange kinship. If we are all stuck in the dark forest together, if we are all facing the probability slope together, then the petty divisions between humans seem incredibly small. We are a tiny crew on a fragile raft in a hurricane. We shouldn't be fighting each other. We should be huddling together for warmth. The terror of the cosmos is the ultimate unifier. It reminds us that the only thing we have is each other. So, the correct response to the horror is not to close your eyes. It is to open them wider. We are the universe becoming aware of its own absurdity. We are the part of the math that decided to feel. We have trapped you in space, in time, in the mind, and in existence. But the trap has a flaw. It created something that can understand it. Tonight, when you look at the silence of the sky, do not see empty space. See the hiding civilizations. See the expanding bubbles. See the probability waves splitting into infinite futures. Feel the fragility of the ground beneath your feet, and realize that the fact you are standing here, holding this thought, is the greatest statistical miracle in the history of time. You might be a Boltzmann brain. You might be a puppet. You might be trapped in a quantum loop. But for now, you are here. And you are thinking, and in a universe of chaos, that is the only victory that matters. Sleep well, but before the screen goes black, we must add a postscript. A final layer that usually gets left out of the physics textbooks because it moves from physical horror to meta-horror. We have assumed throughout this descent that learning the truth is safe, We assume that understanding the false vacuum or the dark forest might be scary, but it doesn't physically hurt you. It is just information. You are sitting in your chair, safe, processing data, but there is a class of theories known as information hazards. An info hazard is a piece of information that can harm you or the universe simply by being known. This sounds like magic or a curse, but in the age of simulation theory and quantum observation, it is becoming a serious topic in philosophy. Consider the basilisk arguments. The logic goes like this. If we are living in a simulation run by a super intelligent system, that system likely has resource limits. It doesn't want to waste processing power on uninteresting things. A simulation might be programmed to delete or reset any subroutine that figures out it is in a simulation. Why? Because once a character knows they are in a game, they stop playing the game properly. They become bugged. They might try to hack the code. From the perspective of the simulator, a self-aware character is a virus. By watching this, by thinking about the interface theory and Boltzmann brains, you are effectively raising your hand in the classroom of the universe and saying, I know the secret. If the great filter is not a physical barrier, but a cognitive one, then the filter activates exactly when a civilization discovers it. Maybe the reason the universe is silent is because as soon as a civilization understands the dark forest, they are auto-deleted by the system for knowing too much. This creates a paradox. Ignorance is not just bliss. Ignorance is the shield that keeps the server running. Knowledge is a vulnerability. The more you understand the laws of physics, the more you expose yourself to the antivirus protocols of reality. This transforms science from a noble pursuit into a dangerous game of Russian roulette. Every time we smash a particle or solve an equation, we might be triggering a tripwire that was set to go off only when the subject understands the nature of the cage. And finally, the observer hazard. We established that observation affects reality. We create the universe by looking at it. But what if we look at it with fear? If consciousness shapes the collapse of the wave function, and billions of humans start believing that the vacuum is unstable, do we collectively increase the probability of the vacuum collapsing? This is the placebo effect applied to cosmology. If we convince ourselves the universe is a hostile, dying trap, do we force the quantum coin to land on death? If this is true, then this documentary is not just a description of danger. It is an active agent of danger. By spreading these ideas, we are infecting the collective consciousness with a narrative of doom, potentially tilting the quantum scales toward a darker timeline. The ultimate horror is not that the universe is a trap. It is that we are building the trap with our own minds, brick by brick, theory by theory. You are now carrying the hazard. You are now part of the collapse.